Hey guys, what's going on? My name's Maguire. Welcome back to another video, and today we're talking about 4K. Let's get into it. So what is 4K? Well, most of you probably already know this, but for the ones who don't, 4K is just simply another form of resolution. It's basically the next exponential step up from Full HD or 1080p. Now, I personally always shoot in 4K, and some of you might be thinking, but Sean, some of your videos are only in 1080p. Well, yes, some of my videos are exported at only 1080p, but that doesn't mean that I shot the majority of my film in 4K. The reason that those videos are shot in 1080p is because some footage I can't actually shoot in 4K, such as slow motion, which I shoot all my B-roll in. If you go through my YouTube videos, you'll probably see a trend that all my vlogs are exported in 1080p and all my tips and tricks and tutorials are exported in 4K. The reason that my vlogs are exported in 1080p is because, like I said before, I use a slow motion feature to shoot all my B-roll and I can only shoot that in 1080p. Therefore, I have to get the majority of my 4K footage and do what we call downscaling so it can fit in with the rest of the 1080p slow motion footage. So what downscaling is essentially if you get any photo and you open it in, say, a Word document. You click on that photo and then you click on one of the corners and you just drag it in. You'll see that that photo gets smaller. That is essentially downscaling. Now, the reason we don't upscale, say, get my slow motion 1080p B-roll footage and make that into 4K is if you get the same photo in the Word document and instead of dragging it in, you drag it out to make it bigger, you'll see that the quality of the picture actually starts to degrade. So that's why I don't do that, and I always choose to downscale. So why do I always shoot in 4K? Well, let's just say I have a client and they asked me to do a video, but they only need a 1080p export. I would still shoot in 4K. Why is this? Because it gives me a lot of flexibility. So when I have the 4K footage, I'm going to end up downscaling it to the 1080p resolution. And mind you, 4K is 4 times bigger than 1080p. So what this allows me to do is basically alter the framing of the shot. So just say I shot something and I'm like, oh, it's just a little bit off center. What I can do is that I can blow it up a little bit and then move it any way I want. And the reason that I can downscale it is because we just downscaled this 4K footage all the way to 1080p. So by blowing it up a little bit more, making it a little bit bigger, you're not going to get any loss of quality. So by doing this, I can make it a little bit bigger, move it around, reframe it however I want, and we're still good to go. Now, this does not mean that you should just set up your camera however you want and just think, oh, I'll just fix it later. No, this is only for minor adjustments. You don't want to be altering it too much. It's just if you want to push over your frame a little bit, if something's not perfectly center or something around the edges of your frame is bugging you, like a fan is just in the corner of your shot, you can just make that a little bit bigger and therefore the fan is gone. So one last reason I always choose to film in 4K is because of future proofing. Just say I want to use this clip right here 2 years down the road where the natural norm is 4K, but we're starting to shoot everything in 8K. Now, if this was shot in 1080p, that means I'll have to get that 8K footage and downscale it all the way to 1080p, which would be like getting my 4K footage today and downscaling that to 480p, which is just not acceptable in today's standards. So there are a few reasons why people might choose not to film in 4K, and one of these reasons are file size. 4K footage is a lot bigger than 1080p footage, and that's to be expected because, as I said before, 4K footage is 4 times bigger than normal regular 1080p footage. But if you're passionate about making videos or you're in the film industry, you should already have a substantial amount of storage. Another reason why people might choose not to film in 4K is simply because their computers can't handle editing 4K footage. But there is a solution to this, and it's called either making a proxy of your footage or transcoding your footage. A proxy is simply just a low resolution version of your footage. So let's say I had my 4K footage, I can make a 1080p version of that footage so it's easier for my computer to handle. And then there's transcoding. Transcoding is simply just rewrapping your footage in another codec so it's easier for your computer to understand it. I'll go into more detail about proxies and transcoding in a later video, but that's just a simple way of putting it and just an easy way of getting around the fact that your computer can't handle 4K footage. So another reason I hear a lot about why people don't film in 4K is because a lot of people don't have 4K screens or 4K monitors. But to combat that, I'm just going to go back to my argument about downscaling. Even if your audience doesn't have a 4K screen or monitor, if they're watching your 4K video on a 1080p monitor, it's still going to look a lot better than if they were watching a 1080p video on a 1080p monitor. Anyway guys, that's going to be it for me today. If you learned something in this video, make sure to hit that like button, and if you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button down below. But as always guys, my name's Maguire. I hope you have a lovely rest of the day, and I'll see you next time.